Enhance your Mappedin maps with intuitive level selection. Whether you're navigating a multi-story building or exploring different areas of a complex, level selection is key to a seamless user experience. Let's dive in to how we can implement this feature for your maps. The first step is ensuring that your map is set up with multiple levels that are clearly defined. Here we are in the Mappedin editor with our office demo map. On the top left, we can see that this map has a level 1 and a level 2. So before we jump into our code, let's take a quick peek at our floor properties. You can see that it basically holds information about the whole floor, such as connections, elevation, doors, and all that other good stuff. Something to note that if your map has multiple floors, map view will automatically default to the floor with the elevation that's closest to 0, unless otherwise specified. Cool, so let's open our editor. And our first step is to console log and see all the floors that we're working with. So console.log, and we have our map data, we have get by type, and our type is floor. So let's see what that says, or it logs us out. Have a look, and cool. So you see that we have an array of 2 floors, and we can look at the ID and name, which are the 2 properties that we will use. Alrighty, so back into our editor. First things first, we are going to need a button for our level selectors. So let's go ahead and create a Mappedin div, which is just basically the element called Mappedin map on our HTML page. Just copy paste that. Next up, we are going to need a select element to hold our floor options. So I'm going to call it floor selector, and we're going to use document.create an element called select. Cool, so that's going to create our select element for us. Next up, we are going to need to append the select element to our document. So Mappedin div dot append child, and we're going to append floor selector. Amazing. So if we take a quick look at what that looks like, right now we have an empty button on our page. That is good. And so let's go ahead and head back. So next, let's go through each floor in the map data and add it as an option in the select element. So how we're going to do that is we're going to call map data, which holds our data, get by type, and we're getting floor. And we're going to use a for each loop. So for each floor, we're going to add an option. So make an option variable, and we're going to create the element again, just like above, as an option. And we want to populate our option text to equal our floor name. And for the option value, we are going to assign it the floor ID. And last but not least, let's append those options to our select element. So floor selector dot append child, and throw in our option. Cool. So let's head back to our document or our web page. And as you can see, now we have a level 1 or a floor 1 and floor 2. Cool. All right, next steps. Let's add a default value for our floor selector when we load in. So floor selector value is going to equal mapview.currentFloor.id. As I mentioned, the current floor on the initial load is going to be the floor with the lowest elevation, which is floor 1. Cool. If we take a look at that, you can see that it says floor 1. Great. So onto our dynamic or event listeners. So we're going to add an event listener to our dropdown, and on change, we are going to set our floor to the option value. So floor selector, add event listener, and we're listening to a change. We're going to take that event, and we are going to call mapView.setFloor. This is the option to set our floors in our map. So we're going to say eTarget, as HTML element. Oops. Cool. And grab the value of that, which is the floor ID and the option ID that we set above. Nice. So finally, map view has an event listener built in called floor change. So on floor change, we'll set the value of the floor select, which is our dropdown, to the ID of the floor. So let's go ahead and do that. So map view, we're going to call on floor change. When the floor changes, take our event and let's do our ID. So we're going to grab the ID from the floor. So obviously we're going to do ID, event if that exists, and floor ID. And next, we will set the value of the select element to the ID of the floor, which is floor selector dot value equals ID, similar to how we set our default value at the top. Oh, one more thing. Let's just make sure that the ID isn't null. So let's do a quick check. If ID isn't null, then do nothing. Oh, sorry. If ID is null, do nothing else. Let's assign our selector into the floor ID. And that's that. Let's go ahead and go back to our document. And voila, let's check if it works. On our top left, on our button, floor 1, floor 2, floor 1 again. Nice. And that's how you implement level selection for your Mappedin maps. Explore, customize, and elevate your maps to new heights with our guides and documentations on our dev portal. Happy mapping!